Hello everyone, my name is Jeffrey Perera, and today I'm here at the IFSO World Congress 2022 with Rickesha Wilson, a bariatric surgeon practicing at the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio. Who are you, and what do you do?
I am, and I like to define myself not based on what I do, but like who I am. So I'm a young woman who loves people. I am originally from Texas. I'm a daughter, a sister, a friend. Those are the roles that are most important to me. But in terms of what I do, I'm a bariatric surgeon, like you said, and a board-certified general surgeon. And I currently work at Cleveland Clinic in Cleveland, Ohio. And I help people who have obesity and other obesity-related conditions improve their health and their quality of life through weight loss surgery. And I'm also an assistant professor of surgery at Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic Medical School.
So tell me about your childhood and how you found yourself immersed in the field of bariatrics.
Bariatrics came later, but my childhood, I grew up in Fort Worth, Texas, born and raised, and with both of my parents, and I have two other siblings. So my parents didn't go to college. They got married young, had a child young, my older sister, but they kind of vowed for me and my siblings to kind of take academics more seriously than they were able to, becoming parents so young as teens. And so my childhood was pretty disciplined. I played sports, but there were high expectations to do well in school. My first exposure to medicine came when my dad made me read Ben Carson's Gifted Hands. But I really wasn't interested in being a doctor until my senior year of high school. I thought I was going to be an engineer, and I went to a high school for math and science and engineering. But there was a field trip my senior year to a local medical school, and that pretty much changed everything.
For those who don't know, what is bariatric surgery and why is it important?
So bariatric surgery is weight loss surgery. So obesity is on the rise in our nation, all over the world, and it's a public health crisis. So about 30 to 40% of the population have obesity or overweight, and that is associated with a lot of medical conditions that, if obesity was treated, would improve. And so bariatric surgery is the altering of the gastrointestinal system through surgery to induce weight loss so people can be healthier.
Who was one person that inspired you to pursue the sciences?
To pursue the sciences, I'd probably say my dad or my parents, because I really didn't have an idea of what I wanted to do or be, but they thought that would be kind of at least a good foundation for choosing what I wanted to do. So I was pretty undecided as a kid, so they said, look, if you have a STEM foundation, you'll at least set yourself up for success. Mm-hmm. So that's it.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Not my pizza. No.
What qualities do you believe make a great scientist?
Curiosity, asking the right questions, and being able to connect. As doctors and scientists and researchers, we have to connect what we see at the bedside and be able to take that to the bench, meaning basic science. So I do basic science research and clinical research, and so it's important to be curious, ask questions, and it's also important to read widely and read a lot, just to learn. There's so much to learn, so much we don't know. So educating yourself and being a self-starter in terms of learning is important.
How do you know if you're asking the right questions?
Reading helps you know, because you see what the questions are that are unanswered, kind of in the literature in a certain field. The more you read, the more you really understand what the gaps are. So that's how you know you're answering the right questions, and because a lot of the people who are publishing work are experts, and if you see a landmark paper or a review paper that says this is the best data we have, and you have an idea that hasn't been pursued or looked at, you know you're on the right track. And then collaborating. There are always people out there who know a little bit more than us on a certain field or topic, so collaboration is also key.
What is one moment when you realized you made the right career choice?
Let's see. Well, a lot of moments through this career. Probably in college. So my high school field trip to a local medical school, I met a fourth-year medical student that was on her way to residency, and she was a black woman like me, and she looked at me and said, "You should be a doctor." And I was like, yeah. So I changed my major in college. I was engineer, but I declared pre-med. And then my dad, who was also instrumental, he said, every summer, you're not gonna work. You are going to do a paid internship that gets you exposure to either research or to the medical field. So after my sophomore year of college, I shadowed. I did a program in Houston, like an enrichment program for minorities. And one day I shadowed a cardiothoracic surgeon. My first time in the operating room, I looked over the anesthesia drapes and I saw open heart surgery. I was like, this is it. So I knew I was going to be a surgeon from that moment, and I never looked back. But when you find something that connects with you so deeply and just easily, that's when I knew I made the right decision. For sure.
What was a tough time in your career, and how did it change you for the better?
You know, surgery in medicine in general is a humbling sport. It really is. There are so many instances and moments where you're impacted by patients and or their families. I think one moment was probably as a medical student when I was rotating on surgery and we were about to discharge a patient, and the patient had surgical staples that were closing her skin incision, and it was time to remove them. So I really was excited because the team told me, hey, Wilson, stay back and take the staples out. And so I was excited to have some responsibility and to be able to serve the team. Like, they can continue rounding and I can do this. Well, I took those skin staples out, the patient coughed, and not to be too graphic, but she eviscerated, meaning her organs kind of spilled out right there in front of me. And that was so terrifying. I thought I had done something wrong. I was terrified, but I was able to go back with the team that day, back to the operating room, and help them close her abdomen back up. And I realized actually it wasn't my fault. She had already dehisced underneath. But that taught me a big lesson about showing up even when it's hard for patients, even if you do make a mistake. And nothing is worse when you have complications with your patients than to not be there for them. And so that really was insightful for me as even a medical student. I've carried that lesson with me.
What are your future goals in science?
Future goals are to continue scientific research. So I'm a surgeon, but I also do basic science and translational research, specifically with studying the human microbiome and the metabolic benefits that it has before or after bariatric surgery. So I'm doing some animal work with that. But probably my biggest goal is to patent a product that can eliminate adhesions that make surgery difficult in any specialty. So that's kind of my biggest goal in the next 5 years.
What does your daily routine look like?
Daily routine, every day, start my day off with some quiet time, meditation. As a Christian woman of faith, I study some scripture, practice some Spanish. I'm trying to become bilingual. And then I get ready for the day, eat breakfast, shower. A light breakfast, especially on days of surgery. You don't want to eat anything heavy. You'll get sleepy during surgery. It's not a good feeling. I don't drink coffee because that makes me jittery in the OR, but that's kind of my daily routine, either go to surgery or go to clinic and see patients.
Tell me about the strategy and the mindset behind your role. What does it take to be Rickesha Wilson?
And I think it takes a lot of me having grace for myself, because as a surgeon, it comes with a lot of responsibility. It's a cool job. It's very rewarding to serve people, but it can be stressful. It can be scary at times. So, and I'm not perfect. So giving myself a lot of grace, it takes that. It takes a lot of planning ahead, because I'm very busy, or there's a lot of things on our plate. And I think any time in life, a lot of us have a lot of things on our to-do list. So really being organized is really critical, and being intentional about how I spend my time, and intentional about how I relax and decompress away from work. That really helps a lot too.
What do you think is the most challenging part of your job?
I think the most challenging part is dealing with complications. When your patients don't do as well as you hoped they would do, or have a complication, and every surgeon has complications, even the best of them. That's the most challenging part for me. I'm just finishing up my first year as an attending. It's hard because sometimes you can't quite figure out what the next step should be, so I've learned a lot to be humble enough to ask my colleagues for help and their experience too.
Do you think the sky really is the limit?
No. I think the limit is what you can't see. The sky's not the limit. It's beyond.
What would you say is your greatest achievement as a bariatric surgeon so far?
Greatest achievement, surviving, probably. That's it. I think greatest achievement is just being able to serve people every day in this capacity. And I think the most satisfying story is probably one of my patients needed to lose a little bit of weight to get on the heart transplant list because he had heart failure, so he couldn't exercise. So we did a sleeve on him, and a month and a half later, he actually didn't even qualify for a heart transplant anymore. He was able to improve his heart failure, get off certain medications. So stories like that, helping people like that, is probably like the greatest achievement. That's day in and day out.
You mentioned a sleeve. What is a sleeve?
A sleeve, gastrectomy, is a procedure where we significantly reduce the size of the stomach, taking it from like a mini football to a banana shape. And we do that minimally invasively with small incisions. It takes about an hour. It's a good procedure. People usually lose 25 to 30% of their body weight.
Do you have any advice for the younger generation of scientists that might be watching this video?
Yeah, I mean, my advice is to really to not give up so soon. You know, it can be a hard road. Like, whatever your next step is, I think the best thing to do is plot out, write out what the steps are to get to your goal, and then figure out, by reverse engineering it, figure out how you're going to get there. Break it down to, what do I need to do every day to be the kind of person who gets there? So I think create for yourself the blueprint to get to where you want. And that's by reading up, by asking people who've done it, hey, how do I get there? When do I need to study for this admission test? Or when do I need to do this and that? So get wisdom, get counsel, and then write out the steps, and then figure out who you need to be every day to do that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wilson. Dr. Wilson for everyone.
Good luck,
Thank
y'all.
you.